Hi, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again for another talk about another deck tech. This one's been a long time coming. I've been waiting for, there's one card I've been waiting to do from Streets of New Capenna for a while now, but the price has always been up here, and I was waiting for it to come down here. As I've said, I think I've said in some of the comments somewhere, a lot of the videos I do are based around MTGO. And I like buying the cards. I'm a bit of a hoarder like that. So what I tend to do is wait until the prices come down a little bit before I get things going. What I'm going to be doing for some of the other videos that are coming up shortly is looking at some of the legendary creatures that have just come out in Modern Masters 2022 and do some deck techs around them. Some of them already I've done because they're in older sets, they're already up in the channel, but there'll be some new ones coming out shortly. But that's not the idea of today's video. Today's video is all about the one card I've been waiting to do for a while from Streets of New Capenna, as I said earlier. And I've taken a very, very, very different slant on it. Just to give you an idea, the only creature card that's in the whole deck is the commander itself. So, without further ado, let me introduce to you probably the last commander I'm going to do from Streets of New Capenna, unless someone comes up and says something in a comment. And if you've got a comment on one I've missed, let me know below. I'll quite happily do a deck tech on how I would build it. But anyway, without further ado, here is Lord Xander, the Collector. 4 blue, black, red. 6/6 Vampire Demon Noble. You probably all know what it does by now. When Lord Xander enters the battlefield, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand, rounded down. Attacks, defending player mills half their library, rounded down. And when he dies, target opponent sacrifices half the non-land permanents they control, rounded down. There's a lot of rounding down on this card. It's usually rounding up, so rounding down is a little bit unusual for Magic. But I decided to try and do something completely different. The only creature this whole 100 card commander deck has in it is Lord Xander. Yes, we do have ways of making creatures, which I'll go through in a minute if we need to. Oh, there is one creature in it. I take it back. There's 2 creatures in it. There's Lord Xander in it, and there's also Consecrated Sphinx. Forgot I put that in there the last minute, but that's the only other creature in the deck. They're the 2 creatures in the whole deck. We do have ways of making other creatures. I'm not going to argue that. Obviously, it's Commander. You're going to have to be facing a lot of creatures at some stage. But we want to be taking advantage of Lord Xander. And what I'm really interested in is his attack trigger. Not particularly bothered about the discarding stuff. Not particularly about getting people to sacrifice their stuff when he dies. But what I am interested in is whenever he attacks, he gets the mills. Now, I like mill decks. I've played mill decks in Standard, in Extended, for those of you who are old enough to remember Extended. I've had a dabble around with it in Modern. I'm dabbling around with it at the moment in Pioneer. Probably not going to go anywhere with it in Pioneer or Modern these days, but you know, it's still good fun to think about occasionally. But Commander is a different kettle of fish. Milling out your opponent, okay, you probably get a reputation. I'm not going to argue that. Some people will be upset with you for milling all their cards away. But at the end of the day, Commander's about having a bit of fun and then trying to win the game. So, how are we going to do this? As you can see, just generally, the deck is very heavy in blue. We have some red, we have some black. I'll go through them in a minute. But there's a lot of blue cards in here. That's kind of reflected in our land decisions. So we've got Cascade Bluffs, we've got Choked Estuary. Some of the normal black-red lands you expect to see command towers here. Crumbling Necropolis is obviously the cheaper version of the new land. It doesn't cycle, but it's the same thing basically without cycling on. Play this, it's cheaper. That's all I can say at the moment. We've got some Guild Gates, Dragon Summit, some of the indestructible lands. Fabled Passages in here, along with Field of the Dead. That's one of the other ways we make creatures that we hopefully win the game with. For boarding rooms, so on and so forth. Nothing really unusual in here at all. I've included Maestros Theatre, because, you know, you're playing Lord Xander, you better play his theatre, because he likes to enjoy himself. And I've also put in Reliquary Tower. That does become slightly more important as things go along, but we'll go into it. The rest of the and Temple of the False Gods in there as well. So, you know, that's kind of the land base. There's 38 lands. It seems like a lot for a commander deck, but it should be. There's a reason for it. The rest of the ramp: Mox Tantalite, Sol Ring, Arcane Signet, Talisman of Creativity, Chromatic Lantern, Coalition Relic. That's what I'm using as ramp in this deck. I've had some people ask me about, you know, Why do I do this? You know, these are expensive in real life. Yeah, they are. But on MTGO, where I play a lot of my Commander stuff, these are still reasonably cheap. Hence why I play it quite a lot. So that's really the ramp side. And now we've got to think about this. Remember, the second ability of Lord Xander is whenever Lord Xander attacks, defending player mills half their library. So what we want to be doing is milling them out. That's what we're aiming for with this deck. So we have some ways of doing that. First one's Brain Freeze. I suspect most people have seen this by now. Not sure how often we're going to get to storm it off, but you know, it's target player. If we get some storm copies off, we can always move the storm copies around as well and hit all our opponents. Folio Fancies is quite nice. Gives everyone no maximum hand size, and then we can make them everyone draw cards. So 2 mana we all draw 1 each, 4 mana we draw 2 each, so on and so forth. 6 mana's 3, any even number half it. That's what you get up to. And then the second ability is really interesting. Each opponent, I'll make this a little bit bigger. Each opponent mills cards equal to the number of cards in their hand. If you can make your opponents draw, and then you can mill them out. It's a nice way, it's a little mill thing. Mind Sculpt's in here, just because it might be the last thing we do with someone. Same with Vessel of Paranoia, but we've got this in here also for a little bit of card draw for us. Flood of Recollection is a little bit of fun from the original Commander Legends set. We get to return a target instant sorcery card from our graveyard to our hand. Obviously, we have to exile the Flood afterwards, but you know, coming back and some of those cards we're going to come to, it could be really useful to have this ability. Same with Mission Briefing. We can surveil 2, then choose an instant sorcery, cast it this turn. Obviously, this is one where it's a bit more mana intensive, so you have to wait till probably later in the game to do this. But you know, it's there. It could be something good, and I'll show you where I'm going to be using it to get things back with. Glimpse the Unthinkable was the original mill card. Well, this one is Modern Masters, Double Masters 2022. It originally came out in one of the other sets for Ravnica, if I remember correctly, is when I used to lose to it a lot in Standard, when I was playing Standard and Paper back then. So I decided to grab one and put in here for the laugh factor. Arcane Infusions here just so we can do some filtering and get the card we're looking for, hopefully, and dig a bit into our library. Will it work? Don't know, but we might as well have it in here to try it out. Terminate's in here as a bit of removal. We have got some other removal spells. This is one of the few targeted ones we've got, so... But we're hoping we're going to be milling all the creatures that are going to annoy us really quickly, so we'll see what happens. That's why Sphinx's Tutelage is in here. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2. If 2 non-land cards that share a colour were milled this way, repeat this process. Against anyone playing a monocoloured deck, this is probably going to be the thing that mills more cards than anything else going. Having the ability to pay 6 and draw a card, then discard at instant speed is also quite helpful, especially if you've seen someone go, you know, I'm going to scry this to the top of my deck, you can get rid of it and mill it away. But be aware, some people ask, there is a lot of Gaze Blessings around other such effects at the moment, so bit of a chance. Likewise, Court of Cunning's in here. At the beginning of your upkeep, any number of target players each mill 2 cards, so all your opponents will be milling 2. And if we're still the Monarch, which is pretty unlikely to be fair, because we really haven't got that much to block creatures with, but if you're there, everyone gets to mill 10 cards instead. It does go really quickly if you make it come out. Jace is here, mainly for card draw. It does, you know, technically card draw could be looked at a funny version of mill, but who knows. But obviously we're just going to be using it as party Jace, just giving everyone a card every turn. Eventually, if we do get to like 11, 12 loyalty, we might mill someone out for 20 just to speed things up a bit, but we'll see. Memory Erosion is an annoying card. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player mills 2 cards. They're going to be milling themselves a lot of the time, especially if we can get it down early. We should be really good, you know, if we can go turn 1 Soul Ring, turn 2 this Memory Erosion. Opponents are going to be cursing us quite a lot. Fractured Sanity's in here. Again, it's from Modern Horizons 2, this one. But I quite like the idea of this. 3 blue mana, everyone mills 14 cards. Yeah, sounds like a plan. We're going for a mill plan. Likewise, sanity grinding, reveal the top 10 cards of your library for each blue mana symbol, and we have a lot of blue mana symbols you can see through the deck. Target opponent mills card, that could help. Come to the next bit, removal. Because we're not really worried too much, I mean, we want to build our mana up if we can. Bontu's Last Reckoning's in here, a 3 mana wrath effect for all intents and purposes. It does mean we don't untap our lands next turn, but if we do, if we can cast this with our Moxers and our Mox Tanzalite Soul Rings, Arcane Signets, etc., it's not really going to hurt too much, but we'll see. Liliana, the Last Hopes here. I was lucky I drafted this on stream the other night, and I thought I'll drop it in here. A little bit of, anything, Bird's Paradise, so on and so forth, will kill quite happily. We're not really going to be using the -2 ability. What we want to try and do is get to the -7. And hopefully just build up a whole board full of zombies if we can. So we'll see. Then Ruinous Path's in here. A little bit slow. Maybe it's not the right removal spell. Maybe it should be an instant one. But I've got it in here. It gives us a little bit of win condition if we control the board. Gets to turn one of our lands into a 4/4 creature with haste, which is quite nice. So it might give us a way through to do things. Wheel of Fortune is really good draw, really good discard. Yeah, okay, if you cast it late in the game, people only have 2 or 3 cards in their hand. You're not going to get much in the discarding way. And you're going to give them a lot of cards they can do stuff with. But, digs them through the deck. We want their libraries gone. King Nareth's Betrayal's in here. I want to try this saga out from Kaldheim. Mill the cards away. Then you may exile a creature or planeswalker card from each graveyard, which is lovely. And then till the end of when it goes to turn 2 and turn 3, when it triggers, hopefully, we get to cast some of those cards, which sounded like a good plan to me. That's why that's one of the reasons we're playing 38 lands and all the mana sources at the moment. Chromatic Lantern, Coalition Record I've talked about. Learn from the past. This is so we can recycle our graveyard. Shuffle our graveyards back in so we have all our mill spells come back in. That's the other reason Elixir of Immortality's here. Reigns of Power I thought was quite fun. We're not really going to have any creatures in play, and if someone's getting a really big board, we can nick all their creatures of the turn and beat them up with it. So, that's one of the ways we've got of getting creatures. Startled Awake is a strange one. I'm not sure about this. It was from Shadows over Innistrad, so the second time we went to Innistrad. Not convinced. Target opponent mill 13 and then put it in 5 mana, but Startled Awake from your graveyard onto the battlefield transformed. It comes in as a 1/1 with Sulk. It does mean this creature can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. So you're going to have to keep an eye out for your 1/1s or 1/2s or 1/3s. Obviously, Lily will help a little bit if you've got that in play at the same time. And you can get it back, 4 mana, middle another 13 cards. Not the worst thing in the world, but we'll see what happens. Jace Wielder of Mysteries is one of our win conditions. It might be that we come up against a mill deck. And we draw out of cards, or we do something daft, and we need a way of winning. This gives us a way of winning. Damnation is Damnation. Blow the world up. Leyline of the Void is really important in this deck. I was trying to find another way of getting rid of people's graveyards. This seemed to be the most reliable one. Get this in your opening hand, you'll be happy. Get this early in the game, you'll be happy. Even if they get their graveyards back that you haven't been able to get rid of before this comes into play, it still works out quite nicely. Past in Flames is also here. Let's give all our instants and sorceries flashback. We have a lot of instants and sorceries as we've been showing off so far, so it seemed like a cunning plan to do. Likewise, Chain Reactions here is a bit like Damnation, but this just deals damage. But then again, Chain Reaction deals X damage to each creature, or X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. If there's a lot of creatures in play, you're probably going to wipe the board quite happily with this. Macabre Mockery is here because obviously we're milling a lot of our opponent's stuff. We might be able to nick one of their creatures and ping them a bit with it, or do something useful with it if we've got a creature with an ability we can use, so hence why that's here. Gaedron Dehadi. I have no idea if I've said that right, so apologies if I haven't. I wanted to try this out just for a bit of laugh. It gives us a bit of life. Each opponent loses 2, we gain 2, and we put a corruption counter on up to 1 other target creature or planeswalker. Yeah, we can nick the creatures next turn, or if we keep doing the +1, eventually get up to 7, we can gain control of each opponent with a corruption counter on it. Seemed like a reasonable plan to me. Nev's disc is in here just to keep the world under control. We haven't got that many enchantments. Okay, the artifacts going to the bin would help. Obviously, we've got 2 creatures, so I'm not really worried about that. But it's worth playing. It's 4. It's traditional. I like playing Nev's disc where I can. I have no idea what's going on. There you go. Got 1 sort of like extra turn spell and temporal manipulation, just in case we need to do that. Likewise, traumatizes here, mills someone out who's annoying us in the game. Crux of Fate is more let's blow the world up stuff. Ashiok, Nightmare Muse, that's an interesting planeswalker. It gives us a bit of protection, gives us some 2/3s when we need them. It does also help exile our opponent's grave libraries as we do things, so who knows, we'll see. Extract from the Darkness. Each player mills 2 cards, then put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under control. Is another way of nicking something big from your opponent, so I like that idea. Same a little bit with Enter the God Eternals. That's a bit more heavy. Let's deal full damage to a creature, gain life equal to the damage. They get to mill cards, and we get a zombie 4/4 creature. Yeah, I can't complain about that. Consecrated Sphinx is the only other creature in the deck. I'm still not sure I should have this in here, but we've got it for now. We'll see what happens. Helps us with our card draw, which is one of the reasons we have things like Folio Fancies, and down here somewhere, if I can find it, Reliquary Tower in the deck. So, you know, it could help. Right, the next bit's kind of a little bit of combo-y stuff. So we've got Mind's Desire in here. Hopefully we'll be able to get cards off our top of our library and play them, and storm it a little bit. Feast of Succession's in here because of the -4/-4, and we become the Monarch, which does help us deal with our Court of Cunning, so we can always get it back and become the Monarch again if we need to, and hopefully -4/-4 will wipe most things off the board. Arcane Bombardment and 1,000 Years Storm are in here purely because we do have a lot of instants and sorceries in the deck. You've seen a lot of them. We might as well have these in here to see if we can't get these to trigger. You know, a couple of copies from 1,000 Years Storm would be nice for every other instant, and then obviously Arcane Bombardment, just exile them, and every time we cast one we get to do the whole lot again. So I think it's worth the attempt of it. Ashiok, Sculptor of Fears. I'll be honest, I didn't even know it was available on MTGO. This was one of the Planeswalker deck cards, if I remember correctly. It's interesting. Draw a card, each player mills 2, that helps. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under our control, so that's the next thing. But if we can go from 4 to 11, gain control of all creatures target opponent controls, that could be really beneficial to us in the long game. But the +2 is good enough for me for 6 mana. I'll cope with that, and hopefully we'll get to do this occasionally. Mind's Dilation is one of those cards that annoys people. I know this. I've got annoyed playing against it, and I went and got one to put it in this deck specifically to try it out. If we can get their cards, that's really nice, and we can play their cards. So, you know, we might get their creatures, we might get some of their instants, their sorceries, their artifacts, their enchantments. Unfortunately, we don't get their lands, which would be really nice, but I can cope without that. Brass's Bounty's just purely here so we can get a few more treasure on the go, so we can keep recasting some of the stuff from here, especially when we hit Past in Flames. We'd really like to hit this as well, and that'd be really good to get all those extra treasure tokens. Break-in and enterings here. Target player mills 8 cards, and then put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gains haste until the end of turn. If we can get up to 8 mana and do these both at once, we're having a very, very happy time playing this deck. Final few cards at the end here. I decided to put in Rise of the Dark Realms and Finale of Eternity. Hopefully we can get this up to 10, and hopefully we'll get 9 mana to do this. If we're milling a lot, hopefully all our opponents are getting milled and they're milling creatures away. We're going to nick all their creatures and put them all into play under our control, which I thought was a really cunning plan to give us some little bit of fun. It's also, I suppose technically they could be win conditions, and if we can get them cycled back into our deck with Elixir and Mortality, or learn from the past, all the better, and we get to do it again and again and just annoy people. Blasphemous Axe in here, like I say, we're not playing that many creatures. There'll be a lot of creatures in play. This will probably cost us 2, maybe 3 mana most of the time, maybe even as low down as 1. So, and 13 damage to everything kind of finishes the board off for us. Likewise, Fascination. This is for us really, just so we can draw some more cards if we need to. But if we've got someone very low down and we can mill them out so they lose on their upkeep, all the better for us. Anyway, that's it. That was my little take. This is my take on Lord Xander. I'm probably going to play this on stream at some stage this week, and if I don't get the chance to play it because I'm doing something else, I'll try and film a gameplay video later on and upload to the YouTube channel. But like I say, let me know what you think. Come down below in the comments, tell us, talk to us, let me know what you think. Tell me if I've been an idiot. Let me know if there's a card you want me to do. I'm always happy to listen to the people who watch the video. So if there's a specific legend you want to have a look at, how would you build that? Let me know, and I'll put it up on the YouTube channel in the future. But anyway, for now, thanks for watching this video. Take care. See you soon. Bye.